So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Monday, December 7th. This marks the 78th year since Pearl Harbor, and it's also the beginning of December. Hopefully all of you are staying safe and making sure that you are healthy. And we have continued to do these series each and every day, and I'm very excited about today's guest and kicking off the week because I think we'll have fun and we're going to learn a lot. And I really appreciate GetGo from bringing one of their leaders to join us today. And I'll introduce him to you in a moment. But what you can see is you can scan the QR code to connect with Rug on LinkedIn. And I'm sure he appreciates that. He's very civic minded and loves Pittsburgh, as you can see in a moment from his background in terms of sitting in his basement. So we thank Huntington Bank. They've been friends with us and supported us right from the onset for sponsoring this. And I also want to give a shout out to 40 by 80, which is the 501c3 nonprofit arm of the Pittsburgh Tech Council. I want to thank Jonathan Kirsting for being with us today and every day and all the work that he does in media and storytelling. You may have seen that we have a new site called getpgh.com. We'll put a link out there. That's just one example of the many stories that we've been telling and will continue to tell about people who are living, working, and bringing their lives to Pittsburgh and for Pittsburgh. So let's just jump in. I want to tell everyone, just to remind you that I've muted your microphones. We don't want to hear anything in the background, and give our guest all the attention without any distraction. And there's a chat, and the chat is specifically used to ask questions of our guest and not for sales or any kind of personal or company promotion. So on that note, I'm going to bring Rug Phatak to the forefront, and he is with us from GetGo. Very happy to have him here. There's a lot of live update information. I think we're going to have some fun having a chance to talk to him. So Rug, how are you? Who are you? Tell us a little bit about the journey that you've had. And you can see from his background that probably by 4 o'clock today, he'll be pumped up and ready for today's game number 12. So hi, Rug.
Hi, Audrey. Hi, Audrey. Thanks for having me today. Well, unfortunately, I have meetings till 5:30, so I have to tape the first part of the game, and then I'm going to catch up with it. My wife is not pleased, but we're going to record and try to catch up. But thanks again for having me.
Do you need a note, like an excuse that I can write for you?
Unfortunately, it's a meeting of my own doing. So I did this to myself before the meeting, before the game was moved, but that's okay.
Help you.
But I do appreciate you having me today. I'm really excited to talk with you folks. As far as a little bit about me, I've been with Giant Eagle for 15 years. I actually started my career on the Market District side of the house in 2005 when we were launching that retail brand. But for the last 8 years, I've been working on the GetGo business. My current role is the Senior Director of Marketing, and I also serve as the Chief of Staff for GetGo. It's a bit of an unusual title in retail, but what that means is I really spend a lot of time taking on and supporting projects and initiatives that are highly cross-functional, including innovation and technology. So this is the perfect forum to have that conversation.
So wait, so are you a native Pittsburgher? Go back, wheel back a little bit.
Even farther. So yes, I'm from North Huntington, so east of the city between Greensburg and Monroeville. So I grew up, born and raised Pittsburgher. I wandered away for a few years for college. My undergraduate degree is actually in electrical engineering. So innovation and technology sort of fits. Maybe over a cup of coffee, Audrey, I'll tell you after COVID how I got to be a marketer at a grocery store chain. But I went to upstate New York and Rochester for undergraduate work. And then I came back to Pittsburgh to do my MBA. So I was glad to be able to come back home. It's obviously an amazing city that I have a lot of heart for.
That's great. That's a great story. I'm going to take you up on the coffee. We'll follow up on that. So let's talk about what's been happening. We have a pandemic, right? You've obviously been very, very busy. You're active in rolling out new technologies. You haven't sat still at all since the pandemic. And that's really what would be very interesting is to find out you've invested as well. I mean, so here we see a lot of atrophy. A lot of impact, and yet you've, been able to invest and develop. What can you share and what can you tell us? And what are you proud of?
The supermarket business, as you'd expect, Audrey, has been, it's been up, folks, it's what you'd expect and what you're seeing. You saw a lot of that panic buying in the summer and the spring. It's stabilized a bit, but still sales are up. What I'm really most proud of, Audrey, is how the Giant Eagle family has come together, that the team has come together. Because keeping all that product on the shelves, keeping all that product in the pipeline logistically, keeping our stores staffed, keeping everyone safe. And to your point about expense, I'm proud that I think we took the lead on customer safety and team member safety with the plexiglass, social distancing stickers and decals, masks. All that costs a lot of money, but it's important. Keeping our customers and our team members safe was top priority. So the supermarket business is up. GetGo, demand's a little bit down because folks aren't driving. The convenience stores and gas stations are down. Folks are working from home. They're sheltering in place. They're making less trips. So we're down. But to your point, we've continued to innovate. You couldn't tell from seeing our advertising or seeing some of the marketing and things we're doing in store. If you are out and about, GetGo's going to be there for you. So I'm really proud of our part in keeping the community running, keeping essential workers going, keeping our customers safe and their pantries full and their tables stocked. So I'm really proud of that. I'm also really proud of, if you've been to Giant Eagle or if you've been to one of our pumps, we've raised almost $6 million for Feeding America through our register campaign and through our pump campaign. So continue to do really great things for the community. I think that's what I'm most proud about is in these really tough times for folks. Giant Eagle pulled together to really be there for the community, both financially, but also just there. There's a level of normalcy that we continue to provide customers. And what COVID for a lot of folks has changed the way customers behave. And one of the big things is accelerated a lot of technology stuff. So if I can point to a few things. So curbside pickup and delivery, up 50% from before the pandemic. So this holiday season, a lot of us corporate folks are actually in stores shopping orders. So I learned the system. I shopped a couple orders before Thanksgiving. So I'll be there on the 22nd. If you have an order, throw it into the waterworks. I might get your order. But acceleration of curbside adoption has been a really big one, as well as scan, pay, and go in our supermarkets. So in the front of our store, we have the scanner guns that a customer can take. And as they're doing their shop, they're basically checking themselves out. At the end, they scan one last thing and they pay and they go. So for customers that really want to minimize interaction with people and team members and want to just sort of sit from a safety perspective, take control, scan, pay, and go usage is up. At GetGo, mobile ordering and curbside pickup has been a big thing for us. So definitely seeing more customers taking us up on the mobile ordering option so they can minimize the time they're spending in the stores, just grab their bag, not talk to a cashier and go. Luckily, before the pandemic, we had already started our partnership with DoorDash. So we were already poised and ready to go with delivery via DoorDash. So customers can order made to order food as well as their favorite center store items. I remember before the pandemic, I walked in, I happened to look at a DoorDash order that was about to be picked up, and it was 2 breakfast sandwiches and 4 Red Bulls and some candy. And got to thinking what that person was going to be getting into that morning, but they needed the energy. So acceleration of technology is really, adoption of technology has been a real big one for customers during the pandemic. A big change in our business.
So what are some of the top orders? Can you tell us you just gave us one sample, but are there any kind of patterns that you see, or is it different? Because like this week, who knows what will happen this week? So I'm sure you're trying to think about potential ramp up in terms of demand, but what are some common things that you have to keep on shelves that are really going to disappear besides milk?
Yep. It's the paper products you would expect, but luckily I think folks are being reasonable this time around. You saw a lot of that panic buying in the spring and the summer and you're wiped out. But when I was in the store last week, paper was still okay. You might not get what you want, but there is toilet paper and paper products there. Quite frankly, we've done a pretty good job of staying in stock. As I'm walking the store, I'm doing my own shopping. As I'm hearing from our supermarket leadership teams, we had some hiccups during some of the meat factories like the Tysons, and we're having their issues upstream. Some of those plant closures just forced us to do things a little bit differently. One of the nice things about Giant Eagle, though, is being kind of regional. We have a lot of partners, and somehow our merchants just find a way to find product from wherever. It might not be the exact same chicken breast we normally get or the exact same ground beef we get, but their access and their ability to fill that pipeline, I'm always in awe. So we've had very little disruption as far as folks getting what they needed. Again, might not be the right brand, might not be the right size, might not be the right flavor, but broadly, I'm pretty proud of the in-stock position. We've been doing a pretty good job there.
Well, what did you think back in March? What was the pulse going on in terms of your group, and even before like March 13th? Did you believe that you were going to be in the situation that you were in April?
I didn't. And actually, Audrey, I had just got back from a trip to India with my mom and my brother in February, end of February. So when I think back on that trip, I say to myself, "Oof, I almost didn't make it back. I might have been really quarantined across the ocean." No, it just what I guess I would react two ways to that. One is it happened so fast and we had to react so fast, and we were making signs, we were getting PPE out there and the plexiglass. We were moving so fast. But in other ways, it was, you just sort of, at least I kind of thought, well, it's going to go away, or it's going to end, it continued to accelerate. And then the reality, to your point, in April, it's sort of the reality of the situation started to come into focus of, oh, this is how things are going to be. And on top of that, for many parents, my wife and I, our kids are homeschooling. And so that April is when it really started to get real. What the reality of the safety crisis was, the reality of what's happening with schools, and the reality of what's going to be probably, as we know now, what's probably going to be a full year, if not more, before the vaccines come out. So, it probably took us a little bit of time to process it, but once we did, we had to absolutely move at light speed.
So what do you think now? How do you feel now as we look at today's numbers that I think were amassed over 2 days, which is 1,400 and some odd known cases? I haven't gone into all the details yet, but how are you feeling?
Yeah, not great. Of course, without getting political or anything about it, it's
right,
just
not politically.
No. Of course, I think it's going to be a tough winter for folks and for our communities, unfortunately. And I think even with people trying to do the right thing, just being confined is hard. And the holidays were already hard for folks. Thanksgiving, they're going to be even harder this time around. So, how am I feeling personally and about our business? I'm feeling optimistic though. We're doing the right things and being safe in our stores. We're asking our team members to do the right thing and be safe. We have we have protocols in place. So what do we do if we find a positive case?
Right.
So I think we're doing the right thing as a business to help manage that. And personally, it'll be quiet, a couple of quiet holidays at home, but that's not necessarily bad to not be traveling, moving around.
Anything you learned about the market during Thanksgiving, and that can prepare you for Christmas?
Thanksgiving, what it was, Audrey, is what many folks have experienced is they're just smaller gatherings. So typically when we see those big shops and those big gatherings and a lot of holiday parties. So I think for the business, for retail generally, it's going to look a lot different. Thanksgiving already was different because of the smaller gatherings and just, usually your immediate family or immediate bubble. I expect that to continue in December with no holiday parties, no business parties, and families trying to be safe and stay in their bubble.
So I think there's a question out there from Delvina. Jonathan, you want to jump in?
It's good to hear from Delvina again. She wants to know, with Amazon expanding deeper into grocery through its physical store plans and in new delivery convenience, what are Giant Eagle's plans to compete with that?
Well, so I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about Amazon. They're obviously an incredibly formidable player. It'd be silly to not be paying attention to what they're doing. But for us, and especially in the most immediate term, this last year, we've really been focusing on our I would say two things: brick and mortar, and making sure that is great. But versus thinking about Amazon, we're really thinking about the e-commerce side of it. So we're putting a lot of focus into our curbside platform, our curbside app, which launched a couple months ago. We expedited that in the height of the pandemic. So not necessarily, online retailing or worrying about Amazon's brick and mortar. We really want to make sure that we are an outstanding brick and mortar retailer. We do have presence in our markets, but really getting great at e-commerce. So our focus has been more on e-commerce, curbside, and delivery.
And so, Giant Eagle at the parent, the mothership, has actually been very active in the innovation community, particularly in our region, for a long time. And, if you would want to, share some of the things that you're interested in terms of innovation, because we have a wide community here, many of whom would love to be able to do business or at least beta test or be strategic partners. What are some of the domains, any of the domains that you know that you're focusing on, you're paying attention to, you're intrigued by?
We're really intrigued lately by the in-store experience and some of the things that technology can unlock as far as improving the customer experience, and also COVID making it safer, so touchless and things like that. And then what I'm really excited about over the last 6 to 8 months is the data that is generated from all this technology and the Internet of Things. And I know that's obvious. People that are in tech are like, well, you're about 10 years late, but we're better late than never. Is all of the rich data we're getting, both from customer data, as well as data on product data. So cameras in the store, and I think we're going to touch on some of the innovation that's happening in the store, but it's generating a lot of data just on in-stock position. So the data is also really exciting for me.
Okay, and so are you constantly culling for new innovations? How does that work inside of GetGo?
Yeah, we are. So it happens usually a couple of ways. Trade shows are great ones. Obviously, that's not happening this year, but we've attended CES. We've attended NACS, is the National Association of Convenience Stores, is our trade group. There's always wonderful technology partners there. So I will say the innovation, the last year, we've actually sourced via trade shows. But obviously, talking with you, Audrey, and introducing myself to the technology community is also part of us getting out there.
Right.
Giant Eagle isn't always the most forthright and talking to the press or talking out, sharing what we're doing. So folks don't know what we're looking for. So I sense I'm going to get a lot of emails and LinkedIn friends, and that's great. So, we love going out and searching for innovation technology. But we're also happy when folks raise their hand and say, hey, I've got something you might be interested in. We may not make it work. It might not be interesting, or It might not be something that fits, but we're starting to get out there more too on people's radar. So we're starting to get folks proactively coming and talking to us about their innovation, which is really exciting.
Well, let's talk about, I see Craig got ahead of me. So that was my next question. Craig Miller, I was asking about electric vehicles. That was my next question. So can we talk about that? You got a little bit of attention, Rug, in terms of the announcement around EVs. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Electric vehicles. So this is something we're really excited about. GetGo at its core, we are on the busiest corners. We're on the major intersections. We're really important to commuters. We're really important to people that are on the road. And we see EV as the next sort of hole to fill for commuters. It's small, right? Only 1 or 2% of vehicles on the road are electric vehicles. By and large, 60 to 70% of those are Teslas. So it's small, but some projections are saying there's a little over 1 million cars on the road, EV cars on the road. That was a 2018 figure, so it's probably a little higher. They're projecting by 2030 it might be closer to 19 million. So we want to get ahead of that. Recognize it's small, recognize it's slow. So our vision is to allow customers to be from our markets to be able to drive across our markets with an electric vehicle. So middle of PA all the way to Indiana, that you'd be able to drive that using GetGo electric vehicle chargers. And it's a two-pronged approach for us. The first is we got to have Tesla. So we recently opened up 8 Tesla chargers at our Washington, PA GetGo. And we also recently put in chargers at our Market District and Shady side. So, and the usage has been really great. Tesla tells us the numbers they're seeing there are really positive, and we're working with them on additional locations across our footprint, namely in Pittsburgh and Columbus. So we're really excited about expanding with Tesla. But even though they're the majority, everyone doesn't have a Tesla. So we want to make sure that we are not just focusing on Tesla customers, but actually being able to support any electric vehicle on the road. So we're going to be augmenting the Tesla stations with our own chargers. So we're going to get our own high-speed chargers and put those in as well. And those will allow customers that don't have a Tesla to charge with GetGo as well. What's really exciting about sort of that proprietary model is it allows us to do some more do, learn, do kind of things. So, I think of a world, Audrey, where imagine giving fuel perks instead of for gallons of gas, it's for kilowatt hours.
That's what you too just said. How about getting some electric perks?
Yes, absolutely. So fuel perks, how do you get perks on it? Advantage Pay is a program that if you sign up with your checking account, you can get additional savings at the pump with your Advantage card if you pay with that. Imagine if we did that. subscription models and bundling and dynamic pricing. Just, Tesla is Tesla. You get what you get, and they control the show.
Right.
Being able to have our own design and, mobile order or mobile technology and e-commerce, it's really, as you said earlier, Giant Eagle is very innovative and entrepreneurial in the 90 years of business. So I'm excited to get my hands on some of these proprietary ones to really try some stuff.
Well, there's a lot of questions that are flowing in, Jonathan. So if you want to, and it's particularly tied to this discussion on EV.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll rapid fire a few at you here, Rug, and tell us what you got going on. So first, I want to know, was Giant Eagle able to get funding from the Volkswagen settlement to move forward on some of this infrastructure?
We have got some funding from the states.
Okay.
So you'll have to, the question asked will have to forgive me. I don't know if that's I know about the Volkswagen money. I don't know how it flowed back into the ecosystem.
Right.
But we've been working with the states of Ohio and the states of Pennsylvania to get grants. So we are getting some support and grant money from the states.
Very cool. And are you looking at putting in chargers along the interstate corridors as well too?
Yes. Yep. And Tesla has the same desire too. They want to be on major intersections. They want to be on major thoroughfares and roadways. So our view is to definitely be on major intersections. And again, it's sort of the big, when you think about a vision of getting across our markets, you need stuff in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Columbus and Indianapolis. So we're thinking about that route and definitely the major intersections and highways.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier before we went live. The idea of people getting iced out. Are you finding problems, especially over in the Shady Side location, that people are parking in the spots reserved for charging when they should not be?
Shady Side is unfortunately a bit of a unique store for folks that are familiar. It's very tight. It's a 2-level garage that's underneath the building. So we are hearing customers, a couple customers complaining. It's not a groundswell, and I chatted with Tesla on Friday. They're not getting the sense it's a major thing, but certainly you're going to have customers posting on Facebook here and there. In Washington, PA, there's plenty of parking spots there, and quite frankly, in most of the places we're talking about and we're contemplating, we're going to have plenty of adequate parking for folks. So I don't expect being iced out of a parking spot to be a huge issue. Certainly, we have some hiccups at Shady Side, but broadly, I'm not anticipating that being a big problem, because quite frankly, we're not going to choose sites where that's going to be a problem for GetGo.
Absolutely.
Shady Side is an important place for electric vehicles, so you sort of take you do the trade-off. But for GetGos, we're going to be thoughtful and not even put them unless we feel very confident about the parking situation.
And so, can people shop while they charge, or do what they need to do, or do they stay in their vehicles while they are charging?
No, they can absolutely go shop. The intention will be these are high-speed chargers, so that you're getting a pretty good charge in about 20 to 30 minutes, and that's about the right dwell time for a GetGo. It's a little bit long for a convenience store, but it's not out of bounds, right? You go in, you get a candy bar, you get something to eat, get a drink, linger a little bit, come outside. By that time, your car's almost ready to go. So no, we love for folks to come in and do a little bit of shopping.
Great stuff.
Did you get all the questions?
I think we got them all here. Yeah, there's a bunch. I love seeing the activity.
And then did you ask this last one, Jonathan, a Drive PA Forward grant?
That one just came in. Yeah, it says from Rick Price saying, says, I see Giant Eagle has a Drive PA Forward grant for 2 electric yard jockeys.
Yard jockeys, that's a name for a charger?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I see Giant Eagle has a Drive PA Forward grant for 2 electric. Okay. Well, Rick, the question wasn't that clear. Can you find Giant Eagle locations in the app? I was going to ask you about that.
Good question.
Not in the current GetGo app. So that's part of the things that we want to explore and work through. Tesla, you'll find the Tesla app. Once we get these proprietary chargers in, the company we're working with, they'll have their own app. It's a charging network. It's called Green Lots. It's a company that sort of supports companies like us that are just getting off the ground on this stuff, and they manage the network and locations via their app. So once we get there, there'll be plenty of messaging and marketing telling folks where to go and how to find these.
And so then you see Siddharth has asked about, I just missed it. Let's add EV chargers to the Bethel Park Market District. You're getting a lot of requests in here. Okay.
Yes, you are.
And then I see that Siddharth said, how is GE going to set charging rates for non-Tesla? That was, I guess you answered that one. Okay. Good.
Well, yeah, I mean, the short answer is, I mean, there's folks doing this. So what's nice is we can be dynamic about it. We can be as low as we want to get folks trying it. We can't be as high as we want, but we can be flexible. So what we'll probably do is sort of look at the best and the brightest in the market and see what they're charging, seeing if that feels arm wavy numbers right for us, and set the
Right.
pricing. But the beauty of it is it can be dynamic. It's very changeable and flexible as we learn.
You think we'll have some price wars?
I hope not. I think our intention would be we want to be fair. I don't know if there's enough electric charger. I don't know if the infrastructure is there yet for a lot of competition, but I think for us, it's obviously a competitive advantage, but we really want to learn, and we want to provide that service to our customers. So our vision will be to absolutely price it fairly. And as competition heats up, we'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Well, it'd be interesting to know, and I think someone just popped a question in, and I was thinking about this. How much is spent when someone charges a vehicle and then they go in the store? Like, what's the value of that exchange? What's the average amount of money that the customer spends?
Typically, it's somewhere in the range of, well, the figure I read is if you do it at home, it costs you about $9-10 to charge a vehicle. So I think you're probably going to be less than what you're doing per gallon. It'll depend on the charger and the charger speed and the size of your battery. And some batteries can't accept the high charge. So there's a lot of variables there, but typically it's hanging, I think, around the $10-15 range.
Well, how many GetGos are there now?
265.
Wow.
And how many have you added this year? And what's the plans for next year?
This year we've opened up 5 locations. Our fiscal year is July. It started in July. We opened 5 locations. We have another one that we're working on in Murraysville. So we've opened up about six locations in the last year.
Okay, and your footprint is from where to where?
Our major markets are Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Columbus, and Indianapolis. We also stretch north into the Erie area, and a little bit south into West Virginia and Maryland, Frederick, Maryland.
Okay, so here's another question, sort of winding down. I think it's a good question. Do you think the convenience stores will be as relevant to consumers now as they are now, as they will be in the future?
I actually think they're going to be more relevant. One of the things that we've been hearing from customers through the pandemic is telling us, actually, we like the small box better. We think there's less people, there's less team members, I can get in and out faster. So we are starting to think about that point and starting to think about, hey, do we need to have ground beef or other items, right? But actually, I think it's the opposite. I think convenience stores are going to become even more relevant. And the other thing is I'm glass half full and optimistic that the volume's going to come back and folks are going to get back on the road once it's safe to do so, once the vaccines are there, once everyone is safe, and once we move past this thing, people are going to get back on the road. And I think the economy and folks are going to get back on the road in a hurry. I think once we're safe, it's going to be even more relevant, the convenience store business. So I actually think it's the other way. I think they're only going to increasingly become popular in our consumers and communities.
So are there any other locations that you're focused on inside Pittsburgh or Allegheny County for expansion that you can talk about?
Nothing particularly. No, nothing particular, Audrey. Okay. We're just, there's not a lot of green space in Pittsburgh and Cleveland. These are all old established metros. So we have an amazing real estate team that's out pounding the pavement, working with folks to find interesting, unique deals. The one we built in Jeanette on Route 30, that took our real estate team quite a while to parcel. So we have a wonderful team out there just searching the Pittsburgh market for what makes sense.
So let me restate, because I think I didn't make my question clear. So I'm going to try it because I think that James Kale actually articulates it even better. The question was on customer spend. Customers spend more when they're related to their basket size, and while charging or not charging itself, does it cover the cost itself? So have you dug into that data?
Oh no, we have not. We have not modeled that far into dwell time and what the potential upside inside the store is. We're really focused at the moment on the actual charger and the actual infrastructure. So we haven't quite done that math yet.
So you can see by the conversation today that people are really interested in terms of what you're up to, whether it's EV or whether it's just everything that you're working on in terms of GetGo. You've been huge champions for the community, and your footprint is pretty large. And all I'm going to say to you is be open, because a lot of people here are probably going to want to follow up. We put your QR code out there so that they can link in directly with you. And so appreciate that, and appreciate you being open to that. And
Sure.
I appreciate everyone today in terms of, the amount of questions. And I think there's just a lot in terms of data analytics. As you could tell, Rug, the people in our audience are people who are working hard on solving problems. So any way that they can help in your efforts is something that's important to them. And
That's great.
The stronger we can make our community in terms of business and strategic partnerships, the better. So I really appreciate your time with us, Rug. I mean, it's been very, very, enlightening and timely. I know that you are staying safe, and I know that we're at another inflection point for, more COVID cases. And I can tell you, I do think that there is something to small is better. And just in trends overall, not necessarily just in convenience stores, but just in terms of wait time and touch points and getting a sense of feeling like you're somewhat part of the community. I think we're going to see more of that in terms of what we learned for this year that we've been, in the semi-quarantine, kind of COVID era. So I'm going to follow up with you on coffee, because I think you've got a great backstory in terms of why you moved from electrical engineering into doing marketing. I can imagine what it is, but I'd like to peel it back. And I thank you so much for being, a part of the conversation today. I want you to stay safe and have a good holiday. And I'm sure it'll be quiet. And I guess if we put any orders in, we know that you might be doing some of the picking.
Yes, you might. And no judgment. It's a judgment-free zone when I'm shopping your orders.
No judgment. So if I just pack it with, the combo that you conveyed earlier in the conversation, which was a lot of Red Bull, some breakfast biscuits, and some candy.
Yeah, no judgment-free zone. You can tell who's got kids. You can tell who's alone. You can tell who's a bachelor. But absolutely no judgment. We're happy to help.
I can text you the game at 5 o'clock and distract you during your meeting.
I got to turn all technology off so I don't see it until I get to turn on at 5:30. Well,
thank you. That was Rug Phatak from GetGo. He is a chief of staff, but it means a lot of different things, as you heard. He has his finger on the pulse of innovation. Can't thank him enough. We're going to stay close to him and to the work at GetGo. Jonathan, thank you for trying to manage through all the questions today. I know there are a lot. So Rug, that's always exciting. And who do we have coming up tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Audrey, we are putting it into double overdrive. We're going to keep on trucking with PGT Services, all about logistics and all the shipping frenzies that are going on out there right now. As we all know, shipping and logistics are at a high. And so he's going to give us some details of how that's all working out for us right now.
Oh, look, even Rug is shaking his head on that one, right? You can relate to that. You can relate to that. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining, and go Steelers.
Thanks for having me, Audrey. Thank you.